Yeah, let's try that again, shall we? Good evening, everybody. So Thursday evenings there's a couple of different cycles I go through for them, actually. But most of them I pick reading from a particular Buddhist text and read through sequentially small pieces and then talk about them. So this evening is the Dhammapada, which is one of the very early texts out of the Theravada, or the southern branch, what are generally regarded as some of the oldest Buddhist teachings. Tonight we're on the second of these poems. They're poems that don't come across in English as poems very well, but they are poems. The second of these is called Heedfulness. So what I will do is I will just read it through, and then I'll read it through more slowly with my gloss, and then I will push stop recording, and then we will have a discussion about what this brings up for you. Questions, comments, reflections. Heedfulness, the path to the deathless. Heedlessness, the path to death. The heedful do not die, the heedless are as if already dead. Knowing this is a true distinction, those wise in heedfulness rejoice in heedfulness, enjoying the range of the noble ones. The enlightened, constantly absorbed in jhana, persevering, firm in their effort, they touch unbinding, the unexcelled safety from bondage. Those with initiative, mindful, clean in action, acting with due consideration, heedful, restrained, living in the Dhamma, their glory grows. Through initiative, heedfulness, restraint, and self-control, the wise would make an island no flood can submerge. They're addicted to heedlessness, dullards, fools, while the one who is wise cherishes heedfulness as his highest wealth. Don't give way to heedlessness or to intimacy with sensual delight. For a heedful person, absorbed in jhana, attains an abundance of ease. When the wise person drives out heedlessness with heedfulness, having climbed the high tower of discernment, sorrow-free, he observes the sorrowing crowd. As the enlightened man, having scaled the summit, the fools on the ground below. Heedful among the heedless, wakeful among those asleep. Just as a fast horse advances, leaving the weak behind, so the wise. Through heedfulness, Indra won to lordship over the gods. Heedfulness is praised, heedlessness censured, always. The monk, delighting in heedfulness, seeing danger in heedlessness, advances like a fire, burning fetters great and small. The monk, delighting in heedfulness, seeing danger in heedlessness, incapable of falling back, stands right on the verge of unbinding. Okay, so I'll go through that more slowly. Fundamental point here is the Buddhist teachings, they're simple. There's a lot of stuff that goes on and they become really, really complicated and entangled and deep philosophical ideas. The teachings themselves, the core of the teaching is actually simple. They're not easy. I won't pretend they're easy, very different things, but they're simple, really. And you can add as many layers on it as you like. It's hard, it's simple. So what we're saying here is heedfulness versus heedlessness. Heedfulness, the path to the deathless. The deathless is that state. So we're all here sitting and meditating. And when we start meditating, our mind is chaotic. It can't shut down. And we just, first of all, we notice this. Oh my goodness, how do people deal with this? And then you realize that this is going on for everybody all the time. All the time. And when we start taking this practice seriously, we come back to the cushion more often, and the noise, the chaos just slowly starts to quieten down. So imagine a dim and distant future where it's really calmed down and you can see everything's much more calm. What you realize from there, as you start really settling down, is you deeply start to realize that this hand that I'm moving around is no more mine than the fan that's blowing somewhere, or this computer. It's just not. And the ignorance we assert when we attach to these things and we think, this is me, this is mine, is the cause of all of our suffering, all of our stress. The deathless is simply the knowledge, the deep intuitive knowledge of what I really am, which is none of this. It's not saying this doesn't exist. This is in the world. And the world is here. There's a lot of beings. There's a lot of suffering. But to know deep inside that this is not me, that is not born. It does not die. You touch it and you realize it's outside time. It's not, time and space don't apply. Time and space don't apply. Time and space come from that place. Once the world starts crystallizing, time and space starts showing up. That's deathless. It's birthless and it's deathless. Heedlessness, the path to death. So most of us spend most of our time thinking about something that we're going to do tomorrow, thinking about something we did yesterday, thinking about somebody who's somewhere else who did something to offend us, thinking about something that's somewhere else that we want to add to our list of possessions. We're not here. This is the only place we live. If we're not here, we're not alive. If we're not present with our lives, our actual lived experience, we're not really alive. We're already dead because we've given up on this, gone. So this is playing, this whole thing, as you've heard, is playing between heedfulness and heedlessness. And that's heed. It means attentive, alert, concentrating. Yeah, heed.
What's the other one?
Heedful is being attentive, being alert, paying attention. Heedless is not paying attention, not being alert, not being present, and not being watchful. So the heedful do not die, and the heedless are as if already dead. Knowing this is a true distinction, heedlessness versus heedfulness, those wise in heedfulness rejoice in heedfulness. They realize it is really good to be heedful. It's really good to pay attention. It's really good to be alert, to be watchful, to be mindful. Enjoying the range of the noble ones. We won't worry about that. The enlightened, constantly absorbed in jhana. Jhana are settled meditation states, and they just naturally arise as we start to sit. When we become more skillful with meditation, we can start to intentionally navigate this. We can spot what's going on and channel our way through it. But basically, as you start sitting, there's chaos, and then the voices start slowing down, and then the voices just stop. They just stop. There's a point where the voices just stop. And you realize there's a word, piti, which is generally translated as rapture. And it can be a big rush, a big energetic rush. But what you're doing there, the voices have stopped and you've slowed down enough that you are totally present with the subtle body, the energy body. And this energy body, if you're not familiar with it, well, most of us not, because we're both making too much noise with our minds. We settle into the energy body. And when we first touch that, it can be overwhelming. We become familiar and we move that through that to a much stiller place. And we keep going. These are called the jhanas, they're absorption states. And they're a natural progression of the meditation practice. And as we move through those, things become calmer, we can see more clearly. Persevering, firm in their effort. Persevering, firm in their effort. And this is just being heedful. Simply being heedful. Paying attention. Right effort. They touch unbinding. Unbinding is another word for the dead. So it comes from the unbinding is related to the word nibbana, which is about a fire going out, a fire being extinguished. But it doesn't, the historical and cultural context for that isn't the same as now, where you just snuff it out and it's dead, it's gone. Fire is so easy for us, we just don't notice or care. back in the day, fire was not, it didn't die when it was put out, it was released. So if you rub two sticks together, if you create fire by rubbing sticks together, suddenly fire lands on it. You're creating friction, you're creating heat, and suddenly fire spontaneously lands. Where did it come from? It didn't come from anywhere. It's free, but you created a situation where the fire alights. And this unbinding is the opposite of that. You create a situation where the fire is released. It's free. And the fire is our clinging mind. And the fuel is the stuff we cling to, our body, our sensual pleasures, our ideas. So unbinding is just another word for deathless. It's the sense of release. And we can feel that when we meditate, we can start to feel a loosening. And that's the starting of this unbinding, the release, the stresses get lighter. Imagine, Ajahn Chah says, let go a little bit of peace. Let go a lot of peace. Let go completely, complete peace. So we all know what letting go a little is like, right? You get some conflict you're holding on to and you let go of that. And it feels great. Imagine letting go completely. You've got to have a lot of calm and a lot of insight to be able to see clearly enough to know what you're holding on to so you can let go of it. That's this unbinding. Those with initiative, mindful, clean in action, acting with due consideration, heedful, restrained, living in the Dhamma, their glory grows. This is simply saying heedfulness is one of the most important practices, central to mindfulness. You can't be mindful if you're not being heedful. Being present is about paying attention, being alert. So you can see. So heedfulness is one of the most important things we can do. Through initiative, heedfulness, restraint, and self-control, the wise would make an island that no flood can submerge. If you're really heedful, if you're really paying attention, then when something comes along that would normally rock you, so it could be something really nice, it could be some music you like, or a bowl of the ice cream that's your favorite flavor, and it could just suck you into sensual pleasures. Or it could be somebody cuts in front of you in the interstate and you just go into a ray and then they slow down and say, what the hell did they do that? Especially the other one. If you're heedful, you notice the arising in the body of the reaction and you're present to stop it happening. Heedfulness allows us to make that island so that nothing, all these things try and come and assault us and they don't make their way in. That's heedfulness. So they're addicted to heedlessness, dullards, fools, but one who is wise cherishes heedfulness as his highest wealth. Can you think of that? I mean, the most important thing is finding that place of peace, right? And if you've got a tool that can help you do that, how wonderful. How wonderful. Don't give way to heedlessness or to intimacy with sensual delight. Nothing wrong with sensual pleasures. That's really good. Nothing wrong with that. It's more and more and more. That's where it starts to go sideways, right? So there's nothing wrong with a bowl of ice cream. Great. You don't need a second one. Move on. So intimacy with sensual delight is putting yourself in a place to grab onto it. It says for a heedful person absorbed in jhana attains an abundance of ease. So this settled state is a place of ease of well-being. When the wise person drives out heedlessness with heedfulness, having climbed the high tower of discernment, discrimination, seeing clearly, spotting what's going to cause me problems and what's not, sorrow-free, if we're heedful, we are without regret. We're very cautious about how we act. We're not going to do something that causes regret. Sorrow, things just don't land. If we're heedful, we recognize the illusion of things trying to land, and we don't let them land. He observes the soaring cloud as the enlightened man, having scaled the summit, the fools on the ground below. It's another statement of being heedful allows you to create this island of peace, this unassailable place of peace. And it's not an island which cuts one off from the world, still engaged in the world, just not caught by the things that would make us unhappy, not caught by the things that will bring us stress, unsatisfactoriness, suffering. Heedful among the heedless, wakeful among those asleep. This is a direct allusion to another synonym for the deathless and unbinding. Being awake. Being awake is simply seeing clearly. Last night we were asleep. Many of us woke and remembered our dreams. It's like, oh my goodness, that was just a dream. This is the world. I'm awake. Buddha's experience, and the experience of all the enlightenments over the ages, many, is this too is an illusion. What we experience is an illusion. It's not to say it's not here, it is here, but what we experience is not what's really here. What we experience is all of our projections, all of our clingings. So to be awake is to clearly see what's really here. And to be asleep is to be just wallowing in this illusion without questioning any of it. Just like most of us wander through the night without reflecting on whether our dreams are real or not. It doesn't occur to us to think about that until we wake up in the morning. Just as a fast horse advances, leaving the weak behind, so the wise. Through heedfulness, Indra won to lordship over the gods. I assume there's a story in the Sanatana Dharma there about how Indra rose to power, but I don't know that story. Heedfulness is praised, heedlessness censured always. The monk delighting in heedfulness, seeing danger in heedlessness. The danger of heedfulness is suffering. The danger in heedlessness is that we get caught up in the stories. We get caught up in the bowl of ice cream, the argument, the car that cut in front, and we let this system here get all constricted and tight and engage in suffering, discomfort, stress, and for the same complex set of reasons, we don't behave skillfully in the world and we cause suffering out there, cause suffering to others. Those are the dangers of heedlessness. If we're not paying attention, then we're going to act in ways that cause suffering here and suffering there. So the monk, delighting in heedfulness, seeing danger in heedlessness, advances like fire, burning fetters great and small. The fetters are those things which tie us. There's a list of 10. 3 of them you release at a certain stage, and another 2, and then all 5, the other 5. So there's 10 of these fetters, these clingings, these particular descriptions of craving. The monk delighting in heedfulness, seeing danger in heedlessness, incapable of falling back, stands right on the verge of unbinding. There's an idea here. Oh, it's not an idea, it's an experience. There's an experience here that there are stages along the path where once you cross certain thresholds, it's like, oh, this has just changed. And at that point, there's no going back. And we meet these all the time in life, right? I mean, there's, I used to enjoy when I was younger, these 2 pieces of metal that are twisted and tangled together, and you fidget with them and then you take them apart. Once you've solved the puzzle, you've solved the puzzle. You can't unlearn that. Give me one of those things I solved when I was a 16-year-old kid. It would take me a matter of 10 seconds to remember how to do it. You can't unlearn that. There's pictures which are not unlike the picture behind you, but they've got embedded in them. They're repeated patterns, or they look like repeated patterns, and embedded in them are real pictures of like a bunch of camels and pyramids or Disney World. And if you drop your eyes out of focus and you stare into suddenly these things pop out. You can't unsee that. So this is the what was it called? Incapable of falling back. As we advance down the path, then we reach places where we kind of cross the threshold. There's no going back. That's what I have.